I went on this journey of me just still digging up from this well that wasn't really deep to begin with, and me drawing from the strength that I didn't have to try and, I guess, put on the facade of being okay.
Lebo was not okay. Soon his facade was tested once again when his father went missing.
They reported a police car accident that had happened in Pretoria that Saturday. And it was my dad's car and his registration, and everyone in the accident, everyone who had been in the accident passed away. So it was literally in about like a 12, 13-month period where from being in a place where everything was going perfectly and I was probably the happiest I'd ever been in my life, and my worship gifting was being recognized and I felt appreciated by the church, and it felt like everyone wanted a piece of me, and God was taking me on these exciting adventures just with worship and that kind of thing, to go from that place to literally just being an orphan. It was horrible. I just remember getting in the car and just being so upset, and I just remember my sister calling for me and saying, just come back, please, let's talk about it. And me saying, no, I don't want to talk to anyone, just leave me alone. And I just remember driving home and just getting to a point where it's completely broken, and I was just literally screaming out, God, why do you hate me? Why is this happening to me? What have I done to deserve all this stuff? Like, as far as I'm aware, I've been a good Christian, I've been serving the church, I've been doing all these things right, and this is how you repay me, by just tearing my life apart. I just remember saying, if you have a purpose for my life, if you want something from me, then you better drive this car home, because I just don't care anymore.
Lebo made it back home that afternoon, but knew he couldn't go on leading worship and chose to step down. With less of a reason to be at church, Lebo soon stopped going. This went on for about 6 months. Then one day he was invited to a meal at a friend's house, and a conversation he would never forget.
He was just I don't know, there was something inside of him, this passion, this fight inside of him, where it's almost like he was seeing me through the eyes of God. And he said, I refuse to just sit here and watch you throw your life away. I understand that you've gone through some horrible things, and I can't imagine how horrible it must be to deal with these things. But for me to just sit here and watch you get worse and watch you spiral and run away from the calling that God's placed in your life would be a complete injustice, and I'm not going to let it happen. And I think what had touched my heart the most is just the fact that another human being, another grown man, was in tears, willing to fight for me.
Lebo now faced the most important decision of his life: either run away from God or return to Him.
Got to a point where I was contemplating just what it would mean for me to just walk away from church and walk away from God. And the only way that will work is if I literally pretended God doesn't exist, because God is that real to me, and He was that real to me back then. And I just remember sitting there laughing on my floor thinking, wow, that is completely absurd. How could I pretend for the rest of my life that a real person doesn't exist? I just had to throw my everything into God and kind of see what happens.
Lebo started delving back into God's Word and once again began attending church. Soon he found God revealing new aspects of His character to him in ways he had never known.
God cares more about my heart than He does about my function. And it was just this process, I guess, of Him just chucking out all the nonsense and chucking out all the insecurity and all the pride, and kind of stripped all that away and said, right now, all that matters to you is me. And I just want you to know that you're my son and I love you.
About a year later, Lebo was released to do what God had spoken into his life all those years before. But he now looks at that function with a new set of eyes.
My identity is no longer in me being a worship leader. I know that I'm Lebo, my father's son. Just being part of worship, I think for me now, my favorite thing is just being on the stage. It's not that everyone can see me, but it's that I get to be part of this moment where I'm worshiping and know that the presence of God is there changing lives. And just the fact that God lets me be part of that moment, let alone even just be in the room to witness it happen. I think that's that's why I wake up. That's why I'm alive. That moment where one person gives their life to God, that's just the fact that I get to be part of that. That's why I'm alive.